First, calculate the walking traffic areas for your warm tiles installation, referred to in this video as the heated area. In a new room like this kitchen example, measure and mark out all of the fixtures from your room design or blueprints, such as cabinets and appliances, on the floor area. The walkable square footage of the room is measured and calculated by breaking the heated area into simple shapes. Now is the time to verify that your warm tiles cable system coverage corresponds to the desired heated floor area for the room, based on the warm tiles selection chart. Two different spacing options enable these extremely flexible cables to be installed virtually anywhere. In a typical room above a heated area, simply space the cables 3 inches apart. For a room above an unheated area on concrete slabs or a high heat loss room such as a solarium, alternate the spacing from 3 inches apart, then 1.5 inches apart, then 3 inches apart, and so on. Carefully consider and mark low traffic areas on the rough sketch of the room's floor layout. Low traffic areas are typically along wall edges that can be left without cable up to 8 inches from the wall. Draw a strapping room layout on the room's floor layout. Install strapping on all perimeter runs of the room first. For standard spacing, install subsequent runs of strapping at 30 to 36-inch intervals between the perimeter runs. For alternating spacing, install subsequent runs of strapping at 18 to 24-inch intervals between the perimeter runs. Then sketch a cable layout that corresponds to the strapping layout. Plan for the cable layout to end in a low traffic area, or allow a 3-inch channel at the edge of the cable installation back to the low traffic area to route any excess heating cable there. The cable should be installed within 1.5 inches of kick plates on cabinets, edges of tubs, showers, and appliances. 18 to 20 inches from the wall to front of toilets, making sure to be 4 inches from toilet flange, and 2 to 8 inches from walls as referenced in the warm tiles installation instructions included in your kit. Mark the center point of the heated area of your floor layout. Calculate the square footage of this section of your room layout. Note, this heated area center point may not coincide with the linear center point of the room. For areas over 50 square feet, the 1/4 and 3/4 points of the heated area should be marked as well. The floor should be free of debris and other obstructions that may damage or cut the cable before you start installing the strapping. Install the strapping onto the floor following the planning sketch. Outside runs of strapping should be positioned so the tab clips will close towards the outside of all cable turns. Fasten the first end of the strapping to concrete substrates using the Warm Tiles tape kit. Alternative installation methods include hot melt glue guns or Tapcons. Ensure the strapping is adhered tightly to the floor. We are now ready to install the cable into the strapping. Use a simple dowel, such as a broom handle, to slide through the cable reel and mount on a ladder or between a couple of chairs. The reel should spin freely while dispensing the cable. Pull the cold lead down to the pull cord you installed during the electrical box installation. Attach the cold lead onto the first pull cord using electrical tape, making sure the tape completely covers the end of the cable onto the pull cord string. Next, pull the cold lead up into the electrical box until the cold lead heating cable splice is within 6 inches of the sill plate. Position the cold lead heating cable splice so that it will be completely covered by mortar or floor tiles. Recess the cold lead heating cable splice to the same height as the copper heating cable. The concrete may need to be chiseled to a depth of 1/4 inch. The cold lead heating cable splice is fastened to the floor using the clips included with the Warm Tiles cable kit. Glue the clips into position. When routing heating cable to the beginning of the strapping, use clips to attach heating cable to the subfloor. Close the first 1 or 2 hinged clips on the strapping in order to hold the cable securely before proceeding to the next strapping run. Subsequent clips should be left open until cable placement is completed. Wind the cable at appropriate intervals and snap into the strapping slots. Then carefully turn the cable and snap into the next appropriate slot. Note: do not extend cable beyond the edge of the strapping. Continue laying out the cable until the 1/4 or half of cable length label is reached. Compare the location of the label to the corresponding 1/4 or half point previously marked on the floor. If the label has not reached the location marked on the floor, leave the low traffic area unheated. If the label has passed the mark, carefully lift the previous few cable runs and place in an additional 1.5 inch spaced run between the 3-inch runs to use up the excess cable. No more than 2 1.5 inch spacings should be run before another 3-inch spacing interval is installed. Check the 3/4 of cable label against the floor area marks as you continue to place the cable and make necessary adjustments. The end splice may be recessed into the floor at the end of the cable, using the same method as used with the cold lead heating cable splice. Never cut the heating cable to fit the floor area. To avoid damage to the heating element, all copper cable must be installed and covered with mortar following the installation instructions included in your warm tiles kit. And cables must never touch or overlap on the floor. A minimum of 1.5 inch spacing must be maintained. Once the cable layout is completed, close all hinged clips, including the hinged clips not used, to securely fasten the cable to the floor and flatten the height of the system prior to application of the thinset. Use additional clips provided to fasten down any part of the cable that is not snug to the floor. Next, secure with electrical tape the pigtail end of the warm tiles thermostat sensor wire to the second pull cord and pull into the junction box. Select a pair of 3-inch runs of cable on the floor to position the sensor wire. Create a channel for the sensor wire by cutting and removing the unused strapping. Fasten the sensor wire to the floor with the supplied clips, making sure you center the sensor bulb between cable runs. Using a thinset mortar installed with the flat side of a trowel or by spreading a self-leveling compound, cover the cable with a scratch coat layer. Once the scratch coat layer has cured, install your tile or stone using standard tiling procedures for concrete subfloors according to the Tile Council of America for the United States or by the Terrazzo Tile and Marble Association of Canada.